All right, welcome back to the Artist Connection podcast. This is Matt Kasar with today's special guest, Pete Thompson, all the way from the UK. Welcome, sir.
Oh, hi. Thank you for having me. Good to speak to you, Matt.
Good to speak to you, too. The band is the Magic Ease, and
That's correct, yeah.
your brand new single is Melody Jane, which we just played on the show here right before the interview, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
There's always a special place in my heart for not only whatever you want to call it. I'm not much for labeling music into a certain kind of box or whatever, but power pop, British power pop, whatever you want to call it. There's always a place for that guitar-driven rock.
That's definitely an influence for us as a band. You know, when we started, it was kind of a lot of the bands we thought, okay, it would be great to sound like that. It was like the Undertones, the Jam.
Yeah.
The Stones, the Who, etc. So, you know, with this first single, we kind of feel we've captured a bit of that rawness kind of guitar pop that's kind of got a bit of a British edge to it.
Yeah, it sure does. So you're the guitar player and you're the vocalist. So tell me about your guitars. What do you? I saw in some of your pictures you have a Rickenbacker there, but what are some? Is that what you play? Is that your main guitar?
Yeah, well, that's our other guitarist, Phil. He plays a Rickenbacker and an Epiphone Sheraton.
Oh, nice.
Two guitars of choice. And I've got an Epiphone Casino, so very much like the John Lennon
sound,
in the Beatles for a while. And I've got like a Les Paul. So there's a bit of a guitar collection gathering between me and Phil. He's got a nice Fender Telecaster as well, and he used to have a nice Gretsch. So there's a bit of guitar envy between the two of us. It's very healthy.
I bet. I've been listening to the new song. What can you tell me about it? How was it recorded? How long did it take to put together? And what are your plans for some more music coming out?
As a band, we've not been together that long really. It was probably about 15 months ago that we got together, and we all knew each other from. Some of us had played together before, and so when we got together, it was this song was probably after playing together for about 6 or 7 months that Melody Jane came out really in terms of coming to rehearsal, and it tends to be with a lot of the songs I will kind of bring an idea to rehearsal. It may be fully sketched out in terms of lyrics, verse and chorus, or it could just be a nice riff or a chord change, and as a band we kind of get around it and see what we can do. But Melody Jane, I'd had the chord sequence for a while, and I mean, you know, a good couple of years, this kind of chord progression at the beginning of it, and never really got it to work. So there's several songs that have been discarded in the past that, you know, have similar traits, but they were never right. And really, I think that was down to I never really found the right lyrical content that kind of helped drive the song along. And that came quite recently, as I say. You know, it was about 3 or 4 months ago that we brought it in, and it was kind of from watching. It was kind of from watching like the red carpet, the film premieres that you kind of see, and the actresses.
Sure.
And I think it was even like seeing, I think they're popular in America, One Direction, who are like one of the biggest boy bands over in the UK, and just seeing the adoration that they were getting from fans. And I kind of flipped it round for the song and thought, you know, writing it from the perspective, similar in the way to the Who, Pictures of Lily, where you know he's kind of got this idyllic view of this woman. It was about a guy who either it's a supermodel or it's an actress, and kind of worships them to not necessarily the point of stalking them, but you know they're just a fascination to this person. He kind of puts himself in a position, you know, everybody loves you, but what if I got to spend like just one night with you and things like that. So that's how it came about.
Yeah.
And then it very quickly wrote itself in terms of the lyrics and everything like that. And so we recorded it quite recently. We recorded it about 2 months ago. We recorded that and 3 other songs. So the plan is we're going to kind of, in another few weeks, we're going to put out another song and then continue until all 4 songs we've got digitally. Then we're going to put them together as an EP and get some CDs pressed of those, and then load them up to iTunes. So very much at the beginning, because it was our first track we've released as a band, we wanted to give it away for free and use it to just get some fans, get some people listening to it, send it to people like yourself, send it to radio stations, and try and use it as a kind of a draw to get people listening to us. And so far it's worked really well. I mean, it's only been available for 2 weeks, and we're quite amazed with how many sort of radio stations have already played it, you know, how quickly people like yourself are getting back to us saying, oh yeah, let's talk. So like I say, in a couple of weeks we'll have our next track that we'll release as well from those same sessions.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. As I said, it's a great song. It's catchy as hell, and that's really the secret, I guess, in today's music business, and I know you know it very well, and we'll talk about Oh Mercy Records in a minute, but, you know, giving it away to get people in, it's really, that's only the first part of it. And then the second part, of course, it has to be something worthwhile, because there's a lot of music out there, and there's a lot of free music out there for people. But if it doesn't grab you as the listener, then so what? You're going to move on to the next one. But you really have something great here.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there. I think, you know, I'm a music fan as well as a music maker, and I listen to music on Spotify. I download things from iTunes, which is great, you know, it's convenient, but as you say, it's very easy to flick onto the next song. If something doesn't grab you in the first 10 seconds or 15 seconds now, there's just another millions of songs waiting to take the place of that one. And so, yeah, it was very conscious that with whatever would be the first song that we put out, it had to, A, be a true reflection of our sound, but also something that would straight away hit the speakers, you know, no 2-minute build-up or anything like that. This was going to be straight out of the traps and straight in your face, which we kind of think we've achieved with this song.
You know, when you were talking about the story behind Melody Jane, it made me think about just how fleeting, and I'm a huge Who fan too, so Pictures of Lily is ingrained in my head too, in the story there and everything, but just the idea of fame now. You mentioned One Direction, and I have a 16-year-old daughter who loves One Direction, and she loves, you know, anything that's associated with it. Like they had a band from Australia called 5 Seconds of Summer. Do you know them?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them, yeah.
Yeah, so they opened up for One Direction, and then before you know it, 8 months later, they're on their own stadium tour of the United States. And I'm 46 years old, and I've been loving music probably since I'm 4 or 5 years old, you know. And the idea of fame has changed so dramatically to the point where it sounds like, to me, like bands aren't even, well, some are, you know, they're not plugging away in the clubs anymore. They're not plugging away in the garage. They just get touched by fame. And that fame that they're being touched by might even be young. And then before you know it, they're playing stadiums. And for me, I think, where do they go from there? If you're a 19-year-old guy playing the guitar and you're playing a stadium tour of the United States, and that's your first EP? where do you go from there? Isn't it strange? What's your take on all of that?
No, I think you're right, and it's a conversation that I have a lot with, you know, either the guys in the band or even just friends, because especially you see it obviously with the festival headliners. I don't know if it's the same in the US, but you look at like Glastonbury and the Reading Festival. If I think back to kind of like the mid-90s, a headliner at Glastonbury was someone who'd had 4 or 5 albums out. They'd had maybe 4 or 5 top 10 singles. They'd done tours, and you felt they'd kind of earned their dues to be playing a headline slot at Glastonbury. And now you look like the bands that are kind of coming out and headlining, like you say, not just festivals, but playing sell-out tours around the world, seem to either be their first album or, you know, their 4th single. And it's because, like you say, the fame thing now is something that suddenly, you know, labels to a certain extent are looking for that finished article or that chance to get, okay, we can take them, they look the part, we'll team them up with these songwriters over here, instant hit, and there you go. Whereas if you kind of look back, if you look at Radiohead, for example, and you look at the career they've been fortunate to get, because, you know, after their first album, Pablo Honey, you could have said it wasn't a great success, and nowadays you wonder if they were around now, they may not have been given the chance to become the band they became.
So true.
Because it was like, sorry, that album didn't do what we wanted, see you later, which you see happen to a lot of bands. So